having us here, and it's fantastic to see so many familiar faces around here. It makes us also a bit, well, I'm a bit impatient, to be very honest. We just had a discussion back here. You know, I don't know how many conferences I've been on discussing affordable housing. We need to see results finally, and I loved the last sentence of the panel before. Next year we actually have to sit here and show that we can do 10,000 homes each, right, to really impact this market, because we're talking a lot, spending beautiful time in very fancy hotels, right? Maybe the next conference should be in the town without AC, so we really see what actually has to be done, feeling it ourselves instead of sitting in this nice climatized room, right? So I think we really need to get moving. The time is now to start things. Somebody can put on my presentation back there, please. Fantastic. So I don't have a clipper as well. Do you have a clipper for me, or you're going to clip it? You can't clip it for me. Where is it? Up there. Okay, I just heard we have very little time, but there's very many important things I have to tell you, so I'm trying to go very fast. If the technology works. Yes. So, CPS, very quickly, CPS Africa, we are a developer based here in Zanzibar and in Tanzania. We have a small office also in Nairobi. We are actually really here to change the world, right? And we need all of you and all of us together to do that. Here's perfect. Okay, I'm going to stand here. Yes, so we need to come together to do that because the challenge is huge. So CPS, our values are, everything we do starts with the heart. We are passionate about bringing beautiful, sustainable, affordable, low cost, and decarbonizing homes to Africa. Right? And there's no question that the technology, and we need a lot of technologies, and I tell you from our experience, there's not one technology only. We need to work with hybrid systems, right? There has to be a combination, concrete, steel, other technologies, timber, and so on, to make this happen. So CPS, we're obsessed with impact. You'll see this tomorrow when you come to our project. We created a lot of jobs, because we don't believe just creating houses is important. Africa needs jobs. We need jobs. We have a lot of people coming from universities, they don't have jobs. So just importing stuff from the US and from ever is not going to solve our problems. We need to create local supply chains. We need to create local demand. We need to create local industries to make jobs for our people. Right? And we should not throw so much concrete at Africa, because it's going to harm Africa. Very clearly. So, we are trailblazing. We are already building multi-story homes with timber. I'll show you that, and you can see that tomorrow in Fumba. Actually, you're going to see something very, very exciting tomorrow, and I can invite you all to come. The first 4-story building made from timber, made from African timber, African pine CLT, ever on the continent in Fumba tomorrow. You come and see that. This is going to change the world. This is going to change things. So, and for us, money is not a currency. The money is boring, and money is not going to change anything. For us, green is a currency as a company. Nice to see you. We are currently doing 4 big projects from Town, which you come to see tomorrow. The Soul, which is a residential resort. The Pavilion is a commercial center, and we're building the highest timber tower in the world, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that. Do you know why we build the highest timber tower in the world? Not because we are the coolest, and we want to be the coolest, right, and the best. No. We want to send that message to the world that timber is bloody cool. Timber is amazing. Engineered timber can be one of the solutions. And we want to tell that to our brothers and sisters who are now moving from rural areas into urban cities, to say, timber is not for the maskinis. Timber is not for the poor. Timber is amazing. We can do world-class buildings with timber, and that's the same technology we want to use to build affordable housing. So, the Burj Zanzibar, I can talk a lot about that. So today I'm supposed to talk about driving the green frontier with sustainable housing in Tanzania. You can see a lot about that also tomorrow. Am I driving this or not? So, why? I love this quote from Howard French, is urbanization is now occurring faster on a larger scale in Africa than ever in human history before. Right? We can get very scared when we hear that. But I believe it's a great opportunity for Africa as well, if we do it right. Right? So we're going to need a lot of homes. I think today the figure, but they're changing all the time depending on what statistics you're reading, 56 million homes needed in Africa for approximately, right? We're using the 3 million figure for Tanzania since 15 years, so it seems not changed since 15 years, even though we're not supplying enough homes, so I don't think the figures are right. We need much, much, much more, right? So we need a lot of homes. Dar es Salaam is expected to have 76 million people. If we don't find housing solutions fast, we're going to have a problem. That's why we have to really get moving. I mean, I'm not blaming it. We are also not there. So our target also is 10,000 homes. If I do 10,000 homes a year, I'll go retire, right? Until then, you have to bear with me. So 10,000 homes as a company, affordable homes for the people, and affordable homes in Tanzania, we're talking homes below 20,000, below $15,000 for a unit. Everything else is not affordable, right? We are also not there yet. Okay, we've produced homes for 12,000, for 14, for 15, but they're always sold so fast, we can't produce enough of those, right? So we have to get into that segment below 20, below $15,000, and that sustainably, with local supply chains, with local empowerment, with job creation on the continent, right? And by protecting our environment using decarbonizing material. The biggest cities of the world, I stole this from my friends from CCI, the biggest cities of the world are today all in Asia, next slide, and they're all going to be in 2100, all biggest cities in the world are going to be in Africa. So this is our task that we have to manage all this population and this big city development in Africa. Let me jump over here on this screen. I think that also from the back you can see this better. What do we believe is the answer to the problem? We need to realize large-scale projects. Small scale, like we're also doing it now and others, is going to school. But that's not going to be the answer. If we need, in Tanzania, 300,000 a year, I don't know Uganda, how many you need per year, whole Africa, we need a lot. Small scale projects is not the answer. That's hobby and learning. We need large scale projects. We need the technology, we need processes. Of course, we need credibility. Without credibility, you will not get finances. You will not get the network that you need, right? And to make projects like this happen, and I hope to show you that tomorrow in Fumba, it's not just about building homes. It's about creating communities. Communities empower and communities work. Next slide. So we have achieved a bit of that already in Fumba. Fumba is first phase, 2,415 residential units, of which we've realized around half of that already. We have currently designed the town for 5,000 units. We're only on a 60-hectare plot, so this is a pretty good density. We have already community there with more than 1,500 people already living, families, and lots of kids from all over the world, but many, many from Tanzania and Zanzibar. We have 2 universities in Fumba, one outside our project, one in our project, opening, and you know, universities are the driver of urban life. We have created, and that's what I'm most proud about, 550 direct permanent jobs, not related to our construction. These are permanent jobs in the town for servicing, factories, Volkshaus we've created, security companies we've created, landscaping companies doing permaculture, composting, beekeeping, and so on. Created a lot of jobs around the city. Next slide. So this is where we are. Now the next big thing we need is technology. We discussed a lot about different technologies, and all technologies I discussed and heard about today are all valid. I think it will be, the answer I feel is going to be a combination out of different technologies depending on where you are. Of course, I can't even compare construction costs from Kenya to Tanzania because Kenya is easily 30% cheaper. So whatever costs you here depends where was this cost actually taken from. It might not apply in Tanzania because I know here, for instance, concrete is very expensive. Right? So it depends really where we are. So we have to combine technologies for the specific market to make it work in that specific market. It has to be locally sourced. We have to create industries here, and I'm very happy that we're making big movements, big steps here, creating local timber industry in Tanzania. It has to be affordable and durable, no question. Cost is the key. I just discussed this with Jaidi from CCI. He says, if in the end, if people can't afford it, it won't work. And he's absolutely right. Cost is the key. And like we heard it today, and I heard it in many, many conferences before, we have to move from construction to production. And nobody has proven that yet. And I hear that even in the US, cases have failed. Next slide, please. So also here, we've made already big progress, and this is what you can see tomorrow. We have already completed more than close to 300 units built from timber, completely from timber. using different technologies, right? Timber frame, very simple, like WolfNet, that's why we're using this all over the world. Timber frame, but made here in Tanzania, pre-manufactured in Zanzibar, in our factory. CLT, composite ceilings, glue-lam, using pine wood from South Africa now the first time, which is great because typically engineered timber is from spruce in Europe, imported. We have currently 418 additional properties under contract to be produced in timber alone. Like I said, the first ever built 4-story timber building, that's this one, produced with CLT, cross-laminated timber, from African pine. And it took us a lot of research of doing that because pine behaves, of course, very different to spruce in terms of gluing, in terms of fire life safety, and so on and so on. We have a lot of knowledge, which we're happy to share with everyone is interested to learn about this. Right? We have to talk with. And then also that factory alone created another 115 permanent jobs. Fishermen from Zanzibar being trained to hire carpenters and can build these houses now. This house has around 35 apartments. They can finish this house in around 6 months. But I can tell you one thing. Speed alone is not the answer. Because who can pay for that speed? We are actually building slow because people can only pay slow because most people don't get a loan from our mortgage banks yet, right? I'm looking at some here in my room. We have to talk about that, right? So sometimes we need time to just build a unit very fast. You're not answering any question, right? It has the combination with the financing. If you have the financing and then you can go super fast, fantastic, right? Next slide. So we are there. And then, of course, the whole target of why we're doing all this is we want to transform lives. Large-scale access to safe, secure, and equitable housing. And I tell you, it is absolutely urgently needed. I'm going around the bike a lot in Zanzibar and sitting under the trees in the morning with the sheikhs in different villages, with the villagers. We're discussing and seeing what the challenges are. And I can tell you most of the time, it's not housing. It's the jobs for the kids. So if we look into housing, developing a housing sector, we have to look into developing jobs here in Africa. So, and that's why actually my presentation only starting. We want to develop a new circular economy, not us alone, with partners, of course, from the tree to the house. And we have developed, together with CCI and other partners, we're going to launch this very soon, an innovative financing model that is based on a collaborative approach, right? We call it Maisha Bora, that we're going to add to the housing projects we're going to do, basically enabling people to buy on a monthly basis throughout, right? Paying over many years throughout, and collaborative financing this. Needs very little equity. If you want to know why, I can tell you that's a secret still. No, so we're going to start this project very soon. So not only the technology, where we are already very far, right? Building multi-story, soon building a 100-meter high tower from timber alone, but also there's a combination of, hi Oscar, nice to see you, of concrete in there. We are building a lot of homes, and I'm actually the last, if you go to Fumba tomorrow, those concrete buildings you see are going to be the last ones we're going to build. After that, no more concrete, except for the floor plate and maybe some staircases to give you the structural strength and fire protection, right? Not completely no concrete. We will not be there very soon. In Sweden, they're very far, right? Maybe in Austria, they built without concrete completely, even the shaft of the lift without concrete, right? But we're not there, so we're going to need a combination. So we need innovative, sustainable, scalable, cost-reducing, industrialized construction technology. But that alone won't answer the question. We also need innovative, collaborative, long-term, developer-driven, I think that's one of the keys, burden-reducing, that's also about speed, accessible financing solutions. Only the combination will get us to the answer. So we are working, one, we are pretty far, the other one, we are very close, and we're going to launch a project called Maisha Bora very soon, demonstrating this and of course testing this. Next slide, I'm going to go faster now. So the rise of a new circular economy from the tree to the house. Clearly we have in Tanzania, in Uganda, fantastic forests. I know we don't have forests everywhere, but we have forests. We've done a lot of research with our pine wood in Tanzania. We've sent it to Germany, we've sent it to Stellenbosch, we're working with Sokoine University to do research on the gluing technology, on the strength, on the technical characteristics. So we have a lot of information on Tanzanian, and now we're doing it on Ugandan timber. Next slide, please. We need to change the way we build, I said that. We have a massive demand, huge demand. Climate change is happening, we see it all around the world. That's why our technology has to be decarbonizing, right? It has to be decarbonizing. We need to provide local supply chains from A to Z. If I want to build with concrete in Zanzibar, I have to import the steel. I have to import the cement. I might soon have to import the sand because we don't have enough river sand in Zanzibar. I'm importing all these things. How is this sustainable? Ever. Right? And as you know, sand is not only in Zanzibar, is one of the most scarce resources we have on this planet. Right? The Middle East is built with sand from Australia. So we need to change and think about these things, what is locally available, and we have enough timber. I'll show you that. Scalable it has to be affordable, and we have to create quality. So the timber construction pre-manufactured is absolute fantastic, durable quality. The panels are absolutely exact on the millimeter. Next slide. So this is a picture from the Southern Highlands in Tanzania, right? I'll give you some facts around that. Timber is, I don't know, but there's others maybe, hemp, regrow, the only regrowing material I know that we can use for construction, it's regrowing. Bamboo, yeah. I love bamboo. We're putting a lot of money into researching bamboo. I wish we can get through that. It's carbon sequestering at the same time. Bamboo is also, right? It's locally available. It's very fast growing, a bit too fast. So we have to slow down the growth in Tanzanian forests. We know how to do that though. It's empowering because it creates jobs in the forestry and all the supply chains. And proven now, and I live in that, maybe some of you will show it tomorrow, in a full timber home, no concrete there at all. And I'm telling you all, a big secret. Once you've lived in a timber home, you will never, ever want to live in a concrete home again. Agreed? Yes. Experience it. It's just a different way of how you live, and it's exactly, Japanese wood society has proven now that it's good for the well-being of human beings. Next slide. This is a very important slide. I'm sure you might know it. So we all have this 2 degrees target, right, in terms of climate change targets, that the temperature shouldn't rise by more than 2 degrees by 2050. We can only achieve that if we heavily reduce greenhouse gas emissions, right? And the fact that most of the energy presently consumed in buildings in developing countries is biomass today, right, in rural areas. So urbanization happening, moving out of biomass into concrete buildings will not allow us to reach that target, right? It's very clear. Shift from biomass to fossil fuels dramatically increases CO2 emissions. The increase in EAC countries in the absence of sustainable building design and construction would be even more dramatic, since the share of final energy consumption of building sector is going to be well above 60%. So there's no question that we have to change and use different materials in addition to concrete. We will not replace concrete. All concrete solutions are absolutely valid and important, but we need additional solutions to that. Next slide. This is just to give you an idea. We have the raw material in Tanzania, plenty of it. Southern Highlands of Tanzania has 257,000 hectares of sustainable forestry. Could be more sustainable, but it's pretty okay, right? Of that, 72% is pine. Pine we need for engineered timber. We have 185,000 hectares of pine. And in Tanzania, Tanzania, Uganda, I think it's a bit different, between 18 to 20 cubic meters of yield per year. That means if you have a forest area of 10,000 square meters, that forest grows in sum by around 18 cubic meters per year. So we're adding 18 cubic meters of timber per year per hectare. That means we have around 3.3 million cubic meters standing every year we can harvest. We have a recovery rate which is very low. Somebody's interested in investing in sawmilling, please come along, right? We need much better sawmilling. So we have around 1.5 million cubic meters of sawn timber availability in Tanzania now. What does that buy me? I'll show you that on the next slide. So the Burj, for instance, the Burj Zanzibar, highest timber town in the world, which we're building here in Zanzibar, in Fumba town, to act as a global landmark for this technology, for a change. We have to rethink how we do things. It uses around 4,000 cubic meters of CLT, cross-laminated timber. That regrows only in the southern highlands of Tanzania in less than 1 day. Can you imagine? The timber needed for a building that high with 136 apartments in the tower alone regrows in less than 1 day. That's fantastic. And it's sequestering tons and tons of carbon dioxide. For years, with all the years it's standing. Right? If you look at that, with the annual timber yield of Southern Highlands, we could produce 396 Burj Zanzibars every year, creating more than 54,000 homes. Completely without harming the environment, creating oxygen, sequestering carbon dioxide in huge amounts. So it's a huge opportunity. Please, next slide. This is a short video I show. It's very fast. The B was the original idea, working title of the Burj Zanzibar. Okay, do you have time? I can share this video with you later. So, this is the key. So, we are, of course, still importing engineered timber at the moment because we don't have a manufacturing site yet here. But the good news is next year we will have. So, we will have engineered timber made in Tanzania from end of next year. So, that's the great big step. And that was important to first, of course, import, get the technology run. So, this is the building you can see tomorrow. This is the one making history in Africa, the first 4-story building made from African CLT. I'm very, very proud about that. We're our partner from MTT in Johannesburg who are doing a great job producing this. Next slide, very fast, one more. Yes, you can skip that. We need the factories for this to produce it. Cross-laminated timber, I'm not going to go into details. If you want, I'm sharing this presentation anyway. What are the amazing benefits of cross-laminated timber? Can replace concrete. And you know, a very, very simple characteristic I have to tell you. We're building with concrete, and you know what concrete does in heat? It stores heat. And it gives it off when you want to sleep. Timber doesn't store heat. If you cook at home and you have a hot pan, you put a piece of timber underneath because it won't burn your table, right? Because timber is an amazing heat insulator. Now, why are we building in this climate with concrete? Because we want to use extra massive amounts of energy to cool it down? We have to change the way we build, right? Timber houses use much, much less energy in cooling because they are such an amazing heat insulator. So, a lot of other benefits. Cross that, next slide. Next slide. That's my last one. So, in Tanzania, we are already working under the National Engineered Wood Sector Development Framework. The government of Tanzania is very proactive in pushing the sector. We're working on that. We're going to have the first factory producing engineered timber up. And welcome to Fumba Town tomorrow if you want to see already engineered timber houses in a bit larger scale, and the 4-story house, the first one in Africa, made from African timber. Thank you very much. Have a good conference.
Sebastian, thank you so much. That was a proper whirlwind tour, and we're looking forward to coming and seeing everything that you've just described when we come to Fumba Town. It really looks very impressive. How many people are coming? Who's coming on the site visit? Some people are coming twice. Great. We're looking forward to it so much. Thank you very much. Let me give you a yearbook. I want to invite you all now to tea.
It's a very ambitious project and we're all very excited for it. But can you give us an image of how things are going to look like once it's built for not just Fumba, but for all of Zanzibar? How, like, the world is going to look like once the Burj is built? How's Zanzibar going to look like? How it's going to feel?
So that's a good question. We have to build it. It's a very crazy dream of bringing this big tower to Zanzibar. People are thinking that we are crazy doing that. We want to do crazy things, and we believe now also our master plans and urban plans have approved it now, because now Fumba town is growing very fast. Hiba and Miba, we're living there together, and many other people. And it now works in the context of the town, but it of course will change the way Zanzibar will look like. But I had a meeting with the government. There's the business forum with the Zanzibar president once a year. Now he's doing it twice a year, where all the businesses come together. The cabinet is there, and we're talking about challenges we have. And we have to talk about urbanization and land use plans in Zanzibar. We're an island. We're adding 800,000 people over the next 10 years again, and then we're going to add another 1 million people. If we don't plan ahead and get people understanding, we need to go high. Right? I would love to build 1 story, 2 story only. It's fantastic, and it's great to live in that. But we don't have the space, not in Zanzibar, not in urban context. For rural context, I think we have urbanization and the population growth has to be handled in urban context and in rural context. It's the different stories, right? So we need 1 or 2 story houses, but in the urban context, we need to go high, and I hope people will understand that this will be necessary, and it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful being. Okay, so guys, you can reach out to Sebastian after this, where CCI is also, a lot of us are based in Fumba town, so you'll be seeing us around. And if you have any question about the research that we're doing with CBS or with Sebastian, we're going to tea now.
Well, can I ask something really quick, very important? Sebastian, can you talk about the program of the program that you have in terms of planting more trees, so that as you're using the timber, you're planting trees. I know, I'm aware of it, but I think for the audience it's important.
Thank you, Oscar. I think this is a very important question. I think this is the questions that we in the timber industry always have to face. First, why doesn't, how it's going to burn down, what's going to happen? And the other thing is what happens with termites, and the other one is now you're destroying our forests, right? We're deforesting. I can tell you the opposite is actually happening. So we are, of course, following Tanzanian law, and Tanzanian law is you cut 1 tree, you have to plant 10, right? So if the more trees we cut, the more trees we're going to have. We believe that, very simply, economics, supply and demand. If there's a huge demand for timber, the supply will also increase, and especially also the sustainable supply of that timber. We can see that happening, especially if, just imagine a village somewhere in Jombe or in Iringa, down south Tanzania, right? They have forests. Now they don't have much use. It takes 18 years until they can cut it. They can't wait so long, so they're cutting it down, making charcoal. If you can find ways, our industry, to go to that village and say, every year when you see you're treating your house, you're looking after your trees, and we pay you 1/18 of the final price of that every year, I believe the villages will start looking after the trees and potentially plant more, right? So I think we need an offtake, we need a demand to protect the supply.
Thank you very much.